Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Narrative Stories channel for more captivating stories. On September 12th, just 1 month before my 50th birthday, my life took an unexpected turn. I had a heart attack. I was sitting on my balcony, sipping iced tea, while waiting for the pasta water to boil. At first, I thought I'd just pulled a muscle, but as the pain intensified, I realized something was terribly wrong. The pain was unbearable, as though someone was squeezing my chest in a vice. My heart raced uncontrollably, and I collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air. Luckily, my phone was right beside me. With trembling hands, I managed to dial emergency services. I can't recall what I said, but within minutes, I heard the unmistakable sound of sirens. Suddenly, paramedics surrounded me, doing things I could barely comprehend. I blacked out, and the next thing I knew, I was in a hospital bed, being briefed on what was about to happen. "Mr. Jordan, can you hear me?" a voice said. "We need to perform an emergency heart bypass. Do you understand?" I nodded weakly as they placed a form under my hand to sign. I didn't know or care what I was signing. I just wanted the pain to stop. A nurse asked, "Is there anyone we should call?" "Where's my wife? Is she here?" I asked. "No, you were alone when the medics arrived. We'll check on that for you," she assured me. "Now try to relax. We're taking you to surgery, and everything should be fine." Though I could somewhat grasp what was happening, I felt detached as they wheeled me into an elevator, then into a brightly lit operating room. "Breathe deeply, and when you wake up, it'll all be over," the surgeon told me. My life didn't flash before my eyes, and I didn't have any near-death experience. I simply drifted off. I woke up in recovery, with a nurse checking my pulse. "How are you feeling?" she asked. I tried to speak, but my mouth was so dry I couldn't form words. "Don't worry, you'll feel better soon. Just rest," she said, giving me a reassuring smile. When I woke again, I felt both better and worse. There, by my bedside, sat my wife of 25 years, Rachel. "Are you okay?" she asked. "The neighbors told me what happened, but the doctors said you're going to be fine." My mouth was too dry to talk, but I struggled to say, "Leave me alone." It barely came out as a whisper. "What are you trying to say?" Rachel leaned in closer. "Get out. Leave me alone," I finally managed, louder this time. "Honey, don't talk. Just rest. I'm right here," she said, stroking my hand. At that moment, my heart rate shot up, and a nurse rushed in. "Miss, you need to leave. You're upsetting him." "But he's my husband," Rachel protested. "Even so, you need to leave now," the nurse insisted, escorting her out of the room. Rachel glanced back at me. "I'll be in the hall if you need me," I motioned to the nurse. "No visitors," I told her. "Discuss my condition only with me." "Understood, Mr. Jordan. I'll put up a sign and make sure the doctor only speaks to you. Need anything else?" I shook my head, and she left, advising me to rest. But you don't really get rest in a hospital. Between the endless tests, blood draws, and pills, it's impossible to sleep. The doctor stopped by later, saying the surgery had gone well. They'd done a triple bypass and found damage from a previous, smaller heart attack. I figured that must have happened months ago, but I thought it was just work stress. "You're lucky," the doctor told me. "If it weren't for your phone, you might not be here. You need to get your weight and blood pressure in check, or you'll be back in my operating room." "When can I get back to work?" I asked. "Not for 3 months at least. You'll need someone at home with you for the first few weeks." "Doc, I'd rather recover somewhere else. Can you recommend a good rehab facility?" "Well, there's a highly rated one about 6 miles away, with a great gym and nutrition program. But be warned, it's pricey." "Oh, and you've had quite a few visitors. Some weren't happy when we told them you'd requested no visitors or calls," the doctor said with a grin. "Good luck with that when you go home." Who said I was going home? I thought to myself. A week later, I was in a private suite at the rehab center, overlooking a quiet lake. It felt more like a luxury resort than a recovery facility. After a full evaluation, the coordinator asked, "How long do you plan on staying?" 3 months, at least," I replied. "Mr. Jordan, You're about 75 pounds overweight and not in the best shape. We'll set you up with an exercise plan, but first, we need to work on your diet." I laughed. "You've got me for the next few months, so let's do this. I've got 2 entitled kids and a wife who's always angling for social status. My youngest, Marcus, barely scraped through university. When he came to me, expecting a cushy job at my firm, I told him, family and business don't mix. To be honest, I didn't want to be the one to fire him when he inevitably screwed up. Marcus, bless him, found a good woman and got married, but he still asks for money every couple of months. I've been too soft for too long, but no more. Then there's Zoe, 3 years older than Marcus. She's practically a professional student, taking the scenic route to her degree. It's been almost 7 years, and she's changed her major 4 times. I stopped keeping track of what she's studying. At the start of this school year, I told her, "You have 1 semester left to graduate, then you're on your own." She, of course, ran straight to her mother, trying to change my mind. When Claire approached me, I just said, "Enough is enough. You can probably see where this is going. I'm tired of being the guy with the open checkbook. At 30 and 27, they need to fend for themselves. I've finally cut them off financially." Now about Claire. That's a whole different issue. Around 5 months ago, I felt like rekindling things between us. Our sex life had become practically non-existent over the past year, and I figured it was time to fix that. I wasn't asking for much, maybe 3 times a week, nothing crazy. So one night, after dinner, I poured her a glass of wine and hinted at spending some time together upstairs. "For what?" she asked, barely looking up from her phone. "You know, how about some fun?" I said, trying to sound lighthearted. "I'm tired, and I have that charity gala to plan," was her reply. "Come on, Claire, it's not like I'm asking for a miracle here, just a little bit of intimacy." I should have known it wasn't going to go well. Claire looked about as excited as someone waiting for a root canal. We went upstairs, got undressed, and it started, the complaints. I was taking up too much space in the bed, it was too hot, I was sweating. And the kicker, she didn't want me lying on top of her because I'd gained weight. "Why don't you climb on top and ride me like you used to?" I suggested. "You know I can't get off that way," she complained. That's when I threw in the towel. I got out of bed, headed for the bathroom, and told her, "I'm going to take care of myself in private, so I don't have to hear you complain anymore." After I handled things, I moved to the guest room. "Where are you going?" she called out. "Away from you. Before I say something I'll regret," I replied, shutting the door. She wasn't entirely wrong. I had gained a lot of weight in the past couple of years. I guess I got lazy. I picked up golf, but it was more of a networking thing than a real hobby. I didn't enjoy it, and frankly, wasn't good at it. The only benefit to joining the local country club was that they hosted events regularly. I left the house early the next morning, long before Claire even woke up. I was still angry, but it had cooled down a little. It wasn't all her fault, I thought, sitting at my desk, scarfing down a bagel with my second cup of coffee. Around 11 a.m., I got an email from Claire. No apology, no, "I love you." Just an explanation of how she wasn't in the mood last night. And instead of talking about it, I stormed off. I thought back to when our sex life was good. And honestly, it felt like a distant memory. It's either a quickie, a reluctant hand job, or her lying there like she's waiting for it to be over. That's when it hit me. Maybe she was getting her needs met elsewhere. So I decided to push the issue. I sent her an email. "Whatever you're doing with whoever, you better stop now if you want to stay married." I knew it would stir up something, but I didn't expect her to respond so quickly. Her reply was vicious, accusing me of being the problem in the bedroom, not her. She pointed out that I couldn't even walk up 2 flights of stairs without panting. "Maybe she should get an oxygen tank for the nights I want to get frisky," she said. She even joked that I should move permanently into the guest room so she wouldn't be responsible for my heart attack. My reply was short, "So be it." That night, I didn't go home for dinner. I met my business partner, Kevin, instead. Thought about not going home at all, but I figured that would make things worse. Claire was waiting when I finally walked in. How dare you accuse me of cheating? She yelled. I have been faithful to you for 18 years. If you're not getting it from me anymore, you must be getting it somewhere else, I shot back. She kept shouting, but I was tired. I assume you're not sleeping in our bedroom anymore, she said, as I headed up the stairs. What's the point? I replied. You don't want me there, and I don't stay where I'm not wanted. Fine, sleep by yourself, Claire yelled after me. That's when my chest started to hurt. I barely made it to the guest room, collapsed on the bed, fully clothed, and passed out. I woke up at around 2 a.m., sweating and in pain. I splashed some water on my face, stared at myself in the mirror, and decided right then I had to get my life together. The next morning, Claire had already left the house, so I called into work and told them I was taking a sick day. I went to the doctor, who, unsurprisingly, told me my blood pressure was through the roof. You've got to drop at least 60 pounds, he said. You're a heart attack waiting to happen. I got a prescription and a lecture on diet. I tossed the diet plans in the back of my car as soon as I left the clinic. For the next few months, the house felt like an icebox. We barely spoke, except when necessary, and dinners were silent. Then came the charity gala at the hotel. Are you going? Claire asked, one evening in February. Yeah, I'll be there, I replied. Well, we might as well go together. It was a quiet drive to the hotel. We didn't talk about anything important until I finally broke the silence. I'm sorry, I said, staring at the road. I am too, she replied softly. I miss you, and I don't want to fight anymore. That was all we had time for. As we pulled up to the hotel, I handed my keys to the valet, then walked around to open Claire's door. She smiled at me, and for the first time in a long time, my heart skipped a beat. Dinner was decent, but the wine was much better. We shared 4 bottles between the 3 other couples at our table. Afterward, the music started. I danced one slow dance with Claire before bowing out for the night. Marcus sighed as he sat back on the patio, his eyes glancing toward the ballroom. His wife, Vanessa, had asked if it was okay for her to dance with a few men at the annual fundraiser gala. It was no big deal to him at first. He sipped his whiskey and chatted with some friends when he caught a glimpse of her slow dancing with a man he didn't recognize. The man's hand crept lower on Vanessa's waist until it landed on the middle of her backside. Annoyed, Marcus continued to watch as they danced out to the moonlit terrace. Keeping his distance, he followed, staying hidden. They were too far away for him to hear, but their flirtatious body language said it all. When the man bent over and kissed her, Marcus had seen enough. On his way out, the valet asked, "Leaving early, Mr. Evans? Not staying for the auction?" "There's nothing in there I care for anymore," Marcus muttered as he got into his car and drove off. About 30 minutes later, his phone rang. Vanessa. He turned it off and tossed it on the passenger seat. 2 hours passed before Vanessa stormed through the front door of their home, red-faced with anger. "What the hell, Marcus? You just left me there," she yelled. "I thought you two needed some alone time," Marcus replied calmly. "What are you talking about?" Vanessa demanded. "The dark-haired guy on the patio, the kiss, I saw it all." "That was nothing," Vanessa shot back. "Nothing? A man feeling up my wife and kissing her is nothing," Marcus responded, raising his voice. "And I suppose it's normal to let strangers get handsy with you on the dance floor." Vanessa's eyes widened. "It was just innocent flirting. The kiss, he was just thanking me for dancing with him. And it took you 2 hours to come home because I had to find a ride," she said defensively. "Let me guess. The same guy gave you a ride home." "Okay, yes, it was him. But nothing happened, Marcus. I swear," she insisted. Marcus began walking away. "How long has it been, Vanessa?" he asked softly. "What do you mean? How long has what been? How long ago did you give up on us?" he asked, disappearing up the stairs to his new room. "Damn it, Marcus. I didn't do anything," she shouted, tears welling in her eyes. His reply was cold. "I gave up after I gave up on myself." With that, he shut and locked the bedroom door. The next day, Marcus didn't leave his room. He spent the day thinking about how his life had turned out. He had 2 kids, Ryan and Elise, who only contacted him when they needed something, and a wife who was more of a roommate than a partner. By Monday, Marcus needed space. Their lakeside cabin in Vermont was perfect. He threw some things together, called into work to take a few days off, and headed out. He needed to think without Vanessa hovering over him. When he opened the cabin door, he immediately knew something was off. He hadn't been there in over 6 months, and he always left it spotless. There was an empty wine bottle on the counter, and the bed sheets. Well, the wet spot on the mattress told its own story. Now Marcus knew exactly where Vanessa had been, and likely with whom. His blood boiled as he dragged the mattress outside and threw it onto the lawn. Sitting down on the porch, he muttered, "Looks like I've been replaced." That same week, Vanessa snuck into the hospital to try and confront Marcus. When she burst into what she thought was his room, a startled woman looked back at her. "What are you doing here?" the woman asked. Vanessa looked around, confused. "Where have you moved Marcus Evans?" "I'm sorry, he's no longer here," the nurse replied. Vanessa stood in stunned silence. Jenna's eyes welled up with tears. "When? How?" she stammered, her voice trembling. "What did they do with his body?" "I'm his wife, damn it. I have a right to know." The nurse, clearly unfazed, sighed. "When I said he was gone, I meant he checked out 2 days ago. If you want more information, you'll need to speak to the office." Frustration boiled over in Jenna as she wiped her eyes, her sadness turning into anger. "So where did they send him?" "I'm not at liberty to say. It's patient's orders," the nurse replied, before walking away. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a ward full of patients to attend to." Jenna stormed out of the hospital, furious and disoriented. The office had informed her that Ethan had been discharged and sent to a rehabilitation clinic, but they couldn't disclose the location. She sat in her car, staring at the dashboard, trying to figure out what to do next. Ethan had been right all along. She had given up on their marriage long before his health had deteriorated. His weight had ballooned over the years, and every time she brought it up, he would shrug her off or accuse her of nagging. When they did manage to have sex, it felt mechanical, like a chore she had to get through. It had been months since she'd truly enjoyed any intimacy with him. It was during one of those nights, at the Garden Club Gala, that she met Martin. He was always at these events, dancing with the wives while their husbands mingled at the bar. Ethan was often too busy stuffing his face or talking business to notice. Martin had a way of making her feel seen, desired even. What started as innocent dancing and talking on the club patio turned into a weekly ritual. Soon, Jenna found herself meeting Martin for lunch, sneaking off when Ethan was busy with work or golf. One Saturday afternoon, after a few glasses of wine, they ended up in the back seat of Martin's car, kissing passionately. Like teenagers who couldn't keep their hands off each other, they stopped short of going all the way, but what they did was enough to leave Jenna feeling exhilarated and guilty all at once. She tried to wash away the shame in the shower afterward, her mind spinning with thoughts of Martin, not her husband. "What am I doing?" she thought. She hadn't felt that kind of passion in years, but the guilt gnawed at her. Fooling around with Martin felt wrong, yet so intoxicating. The next day, she felt disgusted with herself. Still, the feelings of lust and excitement overshadowed her guilt. The problem was Ethan. He didn't inspire those feelings in her anymore. She tried to gently suggest that if he lost weight, maybe they'd have more sex, but he never took her seriously. He just got angry every time she mentioned his size. She knew she was pushing him away, but she was also frustrated beyond belief. The breaking point came when Ethan tried to initiate sex one night after dinner. It was awkward and unpleasant. Afterward, he got upset and stormed off into the bathroom. Jenna didn't feel bad. Not really. She went to bed alone, and by morning, Ethan was gone. At work the next day, everything seemed to go wrong. She was overwhelmed, tired, and feeling sorry for herself. In a moment of impulsive anger, she fired off an email to Ethan, blaming him for the previous night's failure. His response was a shock. He accused her of cheating. "If you want to stay married, stop whatever you're doing," he had written. Jenna's heart raced. How did he know? It was impossible that he could have found out about Martin. They hadn't even slept together, and it was just a few flirty encounters. She convinced herself it wasn't cheating. But now, Ethan's suspicion felt like a dagger in her chest. In her fury, she replied with venom, calling him every name in the book. She denied any affair, and even threw his weight back in his face, blaming him for the distance between them. She realized too late that she had gone too far. That night, when Ethan returned home, the argument erupted into something worse than ever before. They hurled accusations at each other, their words sharp enough to cut. Ethan packed his things and retreated to the guest room. Neither of them slept that night. For days after, they barely spoke. Their marriage, which had been teetering on the edge, was now completely falling apart. Fast forward to the charity gala. Months later, at the annual charity auction, they tried to put on a united front. The night started out amicably enough, but the tension between them was palpable. Over drinks, they apologized for their recent behavior, trying to mend what was left of their. Over the next 4 days, Marcus reflected on what he wanted in life. He made a list, something like a bucket list, but none of it included his family. He returned home late Friday, but Vanessa wasn't there, nor did she come home that night. By Saturday, he decided to smoke some ribs and wait for her explanation. That's when it hit him, the pain in his chest. He barely made it through the heart attack that followed. 2 weeks later, at the rehabilitation center, Marcus called his business partner, Leo. "Hey, I'm alive, man," Marcus joked, weakly. "About time you called. They wouldn't put my calls through," Leo said. "How are you feeling?" "Weak, but better. I'll be out for a while, though. Can you have Monica drop by my laptop? I need to keep up with things." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" Leo asked, concerned. "Don't worry, I won't push myself. Between Monica and me, we'll manage." Marcus paused. "Oh, and Leo, please don't tell anyone where I am. No visitors." "You got it. Just get better, okay?" At the center, Marcus pushed himself to the limit. The exercises were grueling, and the portions of food were barely enough for a child, but he was finally losing weight. He walked on the treadmill for 30 minutes without needing oxygen and started feeling good about himself again. Meanwhile, at home, one Tuesday morning, Vanessa noticed a Goodwill truck pull into the driveway. Thinking they were just turning around, she ignored it until the driver rang the doorbell. "Mrs. Evans?" the man asked. "Yes, that's me," Vanessa responded. "I have a pickup order here, signed by Marcus Evans. We're here to collect his clothing." "What? I never arranged a pickup," she exclaimed. "It says here it was initiated by your husband. Would you mind showing us where his things are?" Confused, Vanessa led the driver to Marcus's closet and dresser. Within an hour, they had packed up all of his clothes and left. Vanessa stared after the truck, her mind racing. "What is he up to?" she muttered to herself. Shattered relationship, but deep down, Jenna knew things weren't the same. Even if they had made peace for the moment, the distance between them was too great to bridge.